The other day, I was sitting in a bar talking to my friend about Dad of Boy. Specifically, how his must playlist has gotten so long that he has yet to play Dad of Boy 2. And I said, right, there's a Dad of Boy 2 now. 2 Dad, 2 Boy. It came out in 2022, and apparently I've just been living under a Ragnarok. And as we're talking about Dad Kratos and his boy, and how my friend barely plays video games anymore, well, he only plays Rocket League, I only play Heroes of the Storm, and occasionally 19 straight hours of Super Auto Pets. But anyway, I say to my friend, wow, Kratos has come so far. Look at him being a self-reflective, sexy dad who knows how to use his inside voice. He's so many miles away from the 240p unsmiling rage machine screaming into the clouds and wordlessly smashing concubines like the grumpiest and most efficient customer at one of those sushi conveyor belt restaurants. Except instead of sushi, it's hookers. And my friend said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "God of War, the sex minigame?" And he said, God of War doesn't have sex minigames. And I said, well, pretty sure technically the one I'm thinking of is in God of War 2. And he said, God of War 2 also doesn't have sex minigames. And what do you mean by sex minigame? How do you make sex into a minigame? Please don't tell me it's QuickTime Events. And that's when I remembered that, right, Dad of Boy is also literally called God of War, not to be confused with God of War, the first God of War that came out in 2005. All of this made even more confusing by the fact that both Gods of War now have sequels, and my friend was thinking of the one in which Kratos does this.
Keep him safe, Kratos.
I can't talk about it, but I just need you to trust me.
We follow your every whim.
But you don't believe in any of it.
And still I follow. Because all that matters is that you are safe. Stay down, boy. Sit down, boy. Stand up, boy. Speak up, boy. Go for the throat or you won't dis-
Whereas I, classy person that I am, was thinking of the one in which Kratos does this.
Hi there.
And this. But most importantly, this. I assume this is what got it nominated for a BAFTA Games Award for Story and Character. Look at him Superman sprint away. Oh, watch out for the hot tub. Go, Kratos, go! So naturally, I explained to my friend, with visual aids, that in God of War, Ghost of Sparta, that's the one I'd been thinking of. Although Gods of War 1 and 2 and 3 and Chains of Olympus all have their own sex minigames, but specifically, in God of War, Ghost of Sparta, there is a very memorable moment in which Kratos walks into a brothel, naked women clinging to both arms, walks them straight into a bedroom where a conveniently half out of frame 4-poster bed awaits, and then proceeds to... And also, but most importantly, and then Kratos walks himself out as if he's just had a surprisingly efficient appointment at the DMV, shakes the nagging concubines off his arms, and then gets back to idle animationing, I guess. For a while, I misremembered Kratos as being a silent protagonist, like Link, just running around Hyrule, gesturing and f***ing. Except no, he's not. Here's Kratos using his mouth words to say sentences at people.
Do you see, gods of Olympus? Why would you betray me? I need no protection. I owe you nothing. I did what had to be done. Zeus.
So why is this how he is in bed? Look at this man just serving us full Moai ambivalence. After my friend and I left the bar, it finally settled in what was weird about our conversation. Not that I had pulled out my phone so that he could watch 3D rendered ladies throw themselves into a sex conga line with Spartan Sylvester Stallone. That was also probably a strange thing to do. But rather, what struck me about it as weird was that I had a lot of fun talking about something that, once upon a time, would have made me really angry and uncomfortable.
I'm uncomfortable.
If I saw this minigame for the first time when it came out, instead of in my mid-20s while researching another video that has nothing to do with sex or minigames or sex minigames, I probably would have been offended. Don't let 2010s gamers know you're offended. It's dangerous business. Woke scold that I am, woman that I am, there I was, gleefully regaling my friend with tales of Kratos playing Bop It with legions of female NPCs in the years 2005, 2007, 2008, 2010, and wow, 2015. All times when I was still not disclosing my gender online. But if anything, now I find these kind of fascinating. Like, why does it make sword noises when he presses the trigger buttons? Also, really? 12 women? Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 women? Amateur? Another question. What is this guy talking about?
I always feel like the sex scenes were done tastefully. I mean, hell, they're not particularly gratuitous, really.
Oh? Do you ever feel like you're living on a different planet? How much of this is ironic? And how much of it is, it's totally ironic, you guys, you gotta believe me. By Ghost of Sparta, the minigame has definitely reached the point of parody. Literally, one of the women says, "How does he keep it up?"
How does he keep it up?
What a Spartan. But also, doesn't it still feel purposefully titillating? Like, look at these two girls providing some eye candy while Kratos walks down a hallway that's way too long to not have boobs to pass the time. Look at how this girl rolls into frame as the camera passes over. And earlier minigames are way less parodic. They're the things that this later minigame is a parody of. It seems like they're trying to ride the line, so if their coworker asks, they can say, "It's for the teen boys, you know, sex sells." But if their wife asks, they can say, "It's just a joke.
It's satire. We're making fun of this kind of thing."
Do you buy that? Should we get back to our anniversary dinner? I guess God of War is a power fantasy in every sense. You're this big, hulking guy pulling off amazing feats of strength and subjecting all of Olympus to your revenge quest. Why shouldn't we also explore the power fantasy of betting 2 or 8 women, or 1, but 2 are watching from the curtains and they're totally into it, and knocking them all senseless with your button-mashing Spartan fingers?
My fondest memory from the first God of War is, discovering the bitches. When Kratos can go back there, do a quick time event, and, get some poontang.
Who are you? In a video celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the series, titled God of War Sex Scenes Feel Like Obligations Now, Best Memories with David Jaffe. Wow, look at this thumbnail. I wonder if he approved that before it came out. The creator of the first God of War game, David Jaffe, says that the first minigame was there for story reasons. You guys ready for some story? Well, let's take a look at the story reasons.
All right, let's go get that story. It's around here somewhere. I'm gonna get it. Oh, here it is. Okay, story over. What else you got? Maybe these two characters who've been traveling with Kratos in his time of need, who he trusts enough to share his quarters, can give us some insight into his character. Let's see what woman number 1 has to say.
Stay, Kratos. Just a bit longer.
We've reached Athens. Get your things and get out.
Nothing else. Okay, back to cheating those nips up toward the camera, I guess. All right, how about you, woman number 2?
Come back to bed, Kratos.
We're finished. Be gone when I return.
God, I love story. Well, I sure have learned something.
Kratos had been going through a lot in the first game. I'll let this guy on Google Reviews say it.
Gotta admit though, it's pretty sad that he accidentally killed his family because of Ares from tricking him and something like that, supposedly.
He is having a rough one, so he drowns himself in good wine and excellent to take his mind off things.
It really was, in God of War 1, built around his character. If you actually read the journal next to his bedside, which is where he has sex with these two women.
Oh, you have to read the journal. That's where they keep the story. You gotta read it makes sense now.
He has picked women up in the world that remind him. They look very much like his dead wife. And he is sort of numbing the pain of what he did to his family with sort of meaningless sex, to really just sort of lose himself in, these more base activities.
It's interactive, so you can really empathize with Kratos' pain. Do you buy that?
And so it was built to be story and character relevant, even though we knew that 95% of the players would just go, oh look, they're having sex, I get to play with the sex button.
Press some buttons to, I guess, to help Kratos do his thing,
A little tension release in the way of a sex scene. And it did get you extra XP and health, and that's always a bonus.
It's okay, they realized we're all idiots who don't pay attention, so they added a narrator in the remake to explain what we're all doing here.
For no matter how much wine he consumed or how many women he took to his bed, nothing on earth could rid him of the horrors that plagued his mind.
Wow, they got a lot whiter, didn't they? It's crazy.
But David Jaffe says that after God of War 1, the sex minigames kind of became an obligation.
The other God of War games that have had the sex scenes, and they've almost felt like obligations at this point, I don't feel they necessarily come from the same sort of character revelatory aspect that the first God of War game did. They would be very upset maybe at this point if they got a new God of War and there wasn't some crazy sex scene in it, so.
Though I would argue that one instance does neither an obligation nor a tradition make. Tradition wasn't his word, but in forum posts about God of War, you can see players talking about the sex minigames as tradition. To the point where there was some skeptical discussion when it was announced that God of War Ascension, the last game before the God of War PS4 line, would be released without a sex minigame of its own.
So is there seriously no sex minigame in this? I heard they didn't include one this time. All these years of tradition down the toilet. What happened? Did a bunch of goody two-shoes start complaining?
I can feel that you're concerned, but fear not. There is not an interactive sex minigame, but do not worry. Do not worry, my friends. There are boobs. As here you can see, there are naked ladies who walk toward you with... I wish I could show you how bad the jiggle physics is.
The jiggle physics is subtle, but just entirely wrong. These are like haunted waterbeds. It's like, what if boobs were squishy, but also there was a tiny person inside being attacked by bees?
God, I love story. This is a really important cutscene in the game because I don't need to explain this to you. Look at the title of the IGN video. It says it all right there.
God of War Ascension, Kratos and the Naked Ladies cutscene. Watch how Kratos is with the naked ladies in this scene from God of War Ascension. IGN, 17.8 million subscribers.
What intern wrote this?
Some people point out that God of War Ascension takes place 6 months after Kratos' entire family dies, so he might just not be in the mood. But this enterprising commenter points out that there are definitely story ways to get Kratos in bed with a lady, god damn it. There are ladies to be had if you just use your brain.
Even a damned flashback scene would have sufficed, if not him falling for an illusion of his wife, be it a Fury or an Impusa. Impusa?
And some of the people saying that this might not make a lot of sense from a story perspective say it like this.
Part of the point of God of War Ascension is to make Kratos more human and such. Guess Santa Monica Studio didn't feel like that was enough time to grieve and then bed down the first piece of ass that wiggles Kratos' direction. I'm torn about it. Kratos porks horrors to try to drive the visions from his mind, but he doesn't get the visions until the end of the game.
Ugh, just sounds I don't like it. That's what struck me as weird about the conversation I had with my friend at the bar. A fascinating thing about getting older is noticing the passage of culture.
Santa Monica Studios said they were planning on being more respectful to women in this stuff. Needless to say, SM's gone awfully soft.
These minigames, these forum posts, are a time capsule, not only for the industry, but also for me and my personal relationship with gaming and womanness. God of War Ascension was released in 2013. That's a year before...
Next, Gamergate.
I think women are perceived as threatening because we are asking for games to be more inclusive.
Find where she lives, find where all these people live. What are we going to do about her? Can we hack her email? Like make really disgusting sexual comments.
There was a threat that someone emailed to the school saying that they would commit the biggest school shooting, a massacre, if I was allowed to speak.
There was no mention of ethics in journalism at all, outside of making the same accusation everybody makes towards any successful woman, that clearly she got to where she is because she had sex with someone.
I'm gonna be 30 next year. I was 20 when Gamergate was happening, and I got my first game system when I was 8. At this point, Gamergate is the midpoint of my experience playing video games. I've been a conscious participant in games culture, interacting with industry news and other fine games folk since I was 12 or 13. That's when I started playing Warcraft 3, my first online game. That was, 2006, 2007? So around the same time Kratos was doing this. Around the same time I learned you should not tell people you're a girl on battle.net. If someone talked to you as if you were a boy, do not correct them. They did not care. Why was it relevant? You were either lying, there are no girls on the internet after all, or you were clearly just in it for the attention. Being female wasn't just an item on your personal fact sheet. It wasn't like bringing up that you're from Cincinnati, or that your favorite food is pizza, or that you have a PlayStation but not an Xbox. It was loaded information, somehow both totally irrelevant and likely motivated. What do you even want us to do with this information? Do you want a prize? Do you want attention? God, why do you need attention so badly? Online games became a bigger part of my life when I started playing League of Legends. Whew, that was around 2010. What a mistake. That was around the time Kratos was doing this.
Is he going to... by the gods! I grew jealous of our mistress.
It was around the time when the most obviously visible women in the games industry were booth babes. While playing League, I'd sometimes meet people in-game and we'd add each other on Skype and voice chat while we played. It was cool meeting people online and becoming actual friends. When I joined my first ever Skype call with my friend Nate, his brother joined too. The first thing his brother Adam ever said to me, his human voice to my human ears, tits or GTFO. Back then, if you wanted to have friends in online games, you couldn't sweat casual misogyny. You'd constantly be causing a scene. Just so I didn't run the risk of overstaying my welcome, I'd be sure to occasionally reassure everyone by saying shit like this.
My fondest memory from the first God of War is, discovering the bitches.
Adam and I don't talk anymore. We mostly interacted over League of Legends between the years of 2010 and 2015. So around the time Kratos was doing this. And this. I remember having a lot of fun games and nice conversations together. But I don't remember any of them as clearly as I remember how hurt I felt in the first moments he ever spoke to me. In moments like that, I'd worry I was too sensitive. I agonize over the words I lack to convince you that this was rational or real, that this mattered. Unfortunately, sometimes you just kind of need to believe me.
So many attempts have been made to explain why some of us felt that this might in some way be related to this. And this.
Back then, if some guy put his arm around your waist, you'd kind of have to just stand there until he stopped. We're there, but we've got brains as well. We're not just there to look at.
How should I describe the discomfort of existing in a body that is demonstrably expected to be presented as spectacle? That women, as a demographic, were not considered as part of the addressable market. That woman, as aspect of being and experience and self, was not desired in public conversation. But woman, as a very specific shape presented for your enjoyment, that's more than welcome. I will not lie and say that I was too smart to internalize that. I wanted to be who people told me they wanted me to be, and that often wasn't a who. All of the available indicators signaled to me that in this space, this was what women were for. I didn't have the language to describe these feelings back then. I hardly know how to describe how fortunate I feel to be at a place where I'm gleefully bonding with my buds over sharing this moment in gaming history that I know hurt, but which is so distant to me now, and after not all that long in the grand scheme. So how can I find this funny now? Maybe it's because this kind of scene doesn't happen very often anymore. But initially, that thought opened up a new kind of discomfort. Like, oh God, do I only say, look how far we've come because we're taking the sex out of your video games?
What is wrong with that? I like what that looks like. I'm a man, baby.
Am I exactly the kind of prude that these people think I am? No, that's dumb. Baldur's Gate is way more sexual than God of War. I love penis selection menu. I love sexy demon lady. I love sleepy time Santa magician.
My fondest memory from the first God of War is, discovering the bitch.
Bear sex! It's funny seeing all my mutuals thirst posting for Asterion or Karlach or Gale or Asterion or Shadowheart or Bear. It's an extremely horny game that's horny for everyone all the time. I'm not saying that extreme, unbridled, undiscerning horniness is the only way to do it, but sure is effective. Characters proposition you. They theoretically reject or accept your advances based on how much they like you as a person. Some NPCs basically just exist for you to potentially have sex with. Women wear low-cut clothing, or they don't. In Baldur's Gate 3, sex and sexiness is something women can do. It's a way women can be. It's not what women are for.
Just give the word and I will kill the clown.
It's not perfect, but it does feel like the next step in figuring out how we do this. And it's also super gay, or it can be. I think it was just easier for the developers to let anyone romance anyone, and I genuinely think this helps the game feel like an expression of sexual liberation rather than rote sexual posturing. Oh my God, can you imagine how gamers would have freaked the fuck out if a man had jumped into this bed too? There are 9 people in this bed, and one of them would never be a man. Okay, here's my conspiracy theory. I don't think Kratos is allowed to enjoy himself. Like, from a design perspective, Kratos cannot experience pleasure from these interactions. Because the designers thought that the people playing their game would find it hot listening to a bunch of women moaning and enjoying themselves, but would find it real nasty to participate in a scenario where another man is audibly enjoying himself, even if that man is, in all other instances, a stand-in for the player. In this moment, though, the most important thing he is another male body. Ew. Or in 2010 speak, gay. So as a result, Kratos appears to not experience pleasure throughout all of this. Like, look at this man. This is not a man who is about to have sex or is having sex or has just had sex. Here, sex is not something to be enjoyed. It's a notch in your belt. Oh yeah, I know what to do to a woman. Left trigger circle circle square. Why do I do it? To feel cool. Yum, yum, give me that experience. That was a good, wow, Claws of Hades level 3. Gosh, that was a lucrative sex. Thank you for your time. Goodbye, lady. He doesn't even join these women under the covers. He just apparently kneels over them, does some gymnastics, and leaves. Where's the pleasure? Sex here is just performance. It's something you can be humiliated at. You can fail this minigame.
Some Spartan you are. There. It'll be all right.
And these little tiny decisions reveal so much about the priorities of the design. Like, I'm sorry, but the way he shoves her? That's a choice the game designers made for reasons? Like, look, here, Kratos doesn't climb out of bed, because that would have required the animators to build a single-use animation for this moment. So it's more economical to just have him awkwardly stand on the bed and walk off like a fucking alien. But this little shove was harder and took more time to implement than just having Kratos walk and stop. They went out of their way to have him manhandle this sex worker after a moment of intimacy. That's why I think it's worth asking questions like these. But isn't it in line with Kratos' character to shove this sex worker? And then you ask, isn't Kratos implicitly barred from all pleasure? Is that not his punishment for what he has done? Did you not get that? Every time I address a potential caveat or nitpick, it destroys the video's pace, and there are too many of them. It's so easy to get bogged down because, genuinely, this type of media criticism is complicated. It's hard to disentangle the constituent parts of a work and of its creation and of the culture into which it was received, both on the criticizing end, me, and on the receiving end, you. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to assume that all comments of this nature are coming in good faith, out of a genuine desire to understand my perspective and to engage with this topic. And I'm going to do a follow-up video where we can address all of them in detail and really dive into the nitty-gritty. All of your questions and more answered. All right? All right. There are a lot of reasons that Baldur's Gate lands better for me than God of War 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These minigames didn't make me feel weird because of the nudity, or because these women never swing a sword. It's that essence, that residue, about which sometimes you can only say, hey, isn't this kind of weird about women? And some people will say, shut the fuck up. So why is this funny to me now? Maybe it's because games affect my self-perception less now than they did when I was a teenager. Again, thank God. I've learned what I value about myself and what the people I care about value about me. And I've learned how to tell the difference between those people and other people. Maybe it's because there are more women in more games, behind the scenes and in the scenes. So this set of women is a shrinking percentage day by day by day. If a game comes out that features women who are largely presented to be seduced by the male lead, well, it no longer feels like that is what women are for in games. Obviously, sexism is not over. The woman!
What? What have I done?
And other forms of bigotry are rampant across this and all other industries. But maybe a memory can start to become funny when it doesn't feel reflective of where we are anymore, when it doesn't have power over me anymore, when it feels less like it'll affect how I think about myself, how other people will talk to me in public or in private, what entry price I will need to pay to enjoy art. And that feeling had me grateful leaving that bar. I just feel better existing in games now. It hasn't been a long time since 2005, 2010, or 2015. And at the same time, it has been, in a way that makes me feel optimistic. Some things do get better, and that can happen pretty quickly when we want it to. Just think to the year 2045. Who knows how many bears we will be able to sex? Thanks for watching. That was the moral of the story. See you in the future, everyone.
Literally, I explained to my friend with visual aids that you gotta twiddle the... You gotta twiddle the... Damn it. I hate this. Fuck. Okay, no, I can... God damn it, it's my life.
Were you waiting on me?
I was! You want more God of War? I know that's exactly what you want. My video partner in crime, Josh, has coincidentally also been working on a God of War video, which is, coincidentally, about how God of War 1 and 2, these ones, not these ones, have progressed the character of Kratos into a new gaming culture, with new ideas of what it means to be a hero. It's a great watch, especially for the people who know my channel through my UI analyses, since it centers on a very particular and well-executed button prompt.
I will admit that now I look like a prompt to fast forward a VGA port, but that input prompt is the apotheosis of 18 years of craft and artistry, the forging together of ingots of storytelling and game design into an edge honed across a centuries-long arc of character development into this.
If you want to have some warm, fuzzy feelings after all this whole thing you just watched, click here to go check it out.